So, we just talked about Pepti Strong a minute ago, but I
Yep.
noticed with Fit, our Fit, it actually is called Pepti Strong Plus, and I
Right.
believe that's because of the metabolic matrix. But I know there's a lot of questions about that and how it exactly works. Can you maybe shed some light as to how ours is better and how all that works?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. So let me tell you kind of what the overarching philosophy with our formulations are. Okay. We like to find peptides that do very specific things. And when you look at peptide chemistry, peptides, like for example, go back to fit, you look at the two primary characterized peptides. There's an 8 amino acid peptide, there's a 10 amino acid peptide.
Hmm.
The 10 amino acid peptide has the function of muscle protein synthesis and myostatin inhibition. The 8 amino acid peptide has the function of an anti inflammatory. So, TNF alpha inhibition, very, very powerful anti inflammatory. It helps us recover after a workout. However, what I want you to understand is fit is not a pre workout or a post workout. Fit has to be taken every day, guys. And this is where I think we as a company, me personally, I've not done a good enough job educating people on the purpose of fit every single day. Because if we're only taking it, when we work out, maybe 3 or 4 times a day, we're not getting that full benefit of recovery and muscle protein synthesis and anti inflammation every single day. And that stuff just doesn't happen on days that we work out. That happens all the time. Okay.
Every
Now,
day.
let me get
Yep.
back to your question, Mark. Your question is, what is the purpose of the metabolic matrix? And this is where our formulations philosophy comes into play. When we look at a peptide, we trace those biochemical pathways that peptide influences all the way from the second it hits our bodies until it hits its basically receptor on the muscle. You call them nutrient receptors or peptide receptors, or kind of depends on what the function is. But your muscles literally have thousands and thousands of receptors on those muscles, on the outside of those muscles, that receive those signals, okay, from those peptides. The metabolic matrix, all the way throughout the course of that metabolic pathway, there are cofactors and coenzymes. Think about them as, transporters. Think about them as catalysts. Think about them like, okay, if I don't have this specific vitamin or this specific mineral, magnesium or vitamin D or, NAD or whatever it is at this particular point, then I can't get to the next point down the road. Okay. So
Okay.
what those are is we want to make absolutely sure that our bodies have all of the coenzymes and cofactors and transporters necessary to get that peptide to its receptor. If we don't
Okay.
get it there, it's worthless, right? So, what's
Yep.
the
Exactly.
purpose of taking a peptide if you don't have everything there that has to chaperone that peptide to its site of activity? Okay. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's
Yep.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.